in this problem here, they're asking us to find simple interest. It says Lena deposits $400 into an account that pays simple interest at a rate of 4% per year. How much interest will she be paid in the first 2 years? So let me just take out what's important. So I know I got to answer this question here. How much interest will she be paid in the first 2 years? We also know that she deposited $400. Actually, let me change the color of that. Let's put it in green. Deposited $400, and then we also know that it paid simple interest at a rate of 4% per year. So that's the rate of interest. And they want to know, after she invests for 2 years, how much interest she's going to earn. So in the first step, anytime you're problem solving, step 1 is always to take notes. So this problem's not too tough, which is a good opportunity to practice these 4 steps without being overwhelmed. But basically, like if I were to make a bulleted list, right? Lena deposited $400. The rate of interest that she earns is 4%, and it was 2 years in the account. So they want to know after 2 years how much interest will she earn. So I'm going to write down the question. So actually, let me rewrite this one, and we're going to put interest earned in 2 years. Earned in 2 years, question mark. That's what we want to figure out. So it's good to know what the question is. So step 1, take notes. You're not solving anything. You're just trying to reorganize the information. If you could draw a picture, draw a picture. And the more word problems you do, the better you get at laying out these steps. Step 2 is going to be to plan. What do we have to do to solve this problem? This is the hardest step always, because you're not being told exactly what you have to do. You have to come up with a plan for yourself. But usually this step is based on what I took notes on. I say, okay, what new information can I come up with? Is there any formulas I'm going to need? Can I write an equation? Well, in this case, I know we're talking about simple interest, right? So I know there's a formula for this. Simple interest is the principal times the rate times the time. That's the formula we're going to use. We actually had this information. So the amount deposited here, that is my principal. The rate of interest we know is here, 4%. And what I had in the question, right, 2 years was the amount of time invested. That's how you calculate simple interest. You just got to multiply them all together. And one thing I got to put a note of is that, let me just scroll down a little bit. The rate of interest has to be converted to decimal form. So that's one thing we have to do, convert it to decimal form. And then that's pretty much it. So the plan is to substitute all the information and then solve it. So we're going to do, the plan is to substitute the givens. The givens are the information they gave me in the notes. So the givens, and solve it for S.I. So in step 3, I'll show you what I mean. So step 3 is basically just carry out your plan. So you're actually going to solve now. So I'm going to rewrite the formula. That's simple interest. I abbreviated it as SI. It was principal times rate times time. Rewrite that portion. Principal was the amount deposited, which was $400. And I'm just going to put in parentheses. So that is going to be multiplied with the rate of interest, which is 4%. Now, earlier I mentioned you have to convert to decimal form, so you have to put 4%. So this is a little side note. Let me just change the ink color so I know that this is just my thinking on the side here. So that's the rate of interest of 4%. Keep in mind, the definition of percentage means out of 100. Right? That's the highest score. Think about it. When you get a test score back, the highest score you can get is 100. So 4% means 4 out of 100. And if I were to divide this out, I would get 0.04. So 4 divided by 100 is 0.04. And that's what I will put there in place of my rate of interest. And then the amount of time invested, T, is 2 years. And now all we have to do is multiply these numbers together. So let me just pull up my calculator, and I get 400 times 0.04 times 2, and we get 32. That is the amount of simple interest earned. And so that means basically after 2 years, so you have to know what it really means. After 2 years, Lena earned $32 in simple interest. And that is it. Step 4 is pretty much you check your work. So does your answer make sense? Did you do your calculations correctly? And in this case, remember, it's just a simple formula where we just multiply the numbers together. So I would just make sure that I use the correct definition of the interest rate when I converted it, because that's pretty much the only calculation we really had to do. So you could just recheck your work, right? I could go back and say, since I did a percent means 4 divided by 100, I hit enter, I can see it does equal 0.04, and it does check out. So I know that was the main area that I could probably have an error, and I just have to multiply 400 times 0.04 times 2. So let me just do that one more time. So I'm just going to clear this out. So 400 times 0.04 times 2, and I get 32. So that it does work out. And you should also know, did you answer the question? So going back to the question, the original question was, how much interest will she be paid in the first 2 years? So Lena, which I answered here, you can see that I did answer the question. After 2 years, Lena earned $32 in simple interest. And 4% is not a lot, so $32 does make sense in terms of the problem, the context of this problem. And that's pretty much it. So simple interest, that's the formula. Principal times rate times time.